Hello and welcome to World Affairs Today. Now, after Donald Trump's election victory, if there's one major geopolitical winner, it is Vladimir Putin. This will likely make things easier for him in the Russia-Ukraine war. These days, any statement Putin makes in public grabs headlines. Recently, he attended an important summit within Russia, where he mentioned that if you were to make a list of global superpowers, you would obviously include countries like the U.S., Russia, and China. Putin didn't name these countries explicitly, but he said that if you're listing global superpowers, India deserves to be included in that list. This is a significant statement by the Russian president. He also added that India has always been a natural ally of Russia, and this equation will never change. Furthermore, he highlighted that India is one of the fastest growing major economies and is an important engine of global growth. I want to show you this statement.
I think that we should certainly add India to the list of great powers. 1.5 billion people, the largest growing economy among major economies. Its culture, an ancient culture, and of course its prospects, great prospects, tremendous prospects.
Because it matters. Putin has spoken in depth about India's tremendous future prospects, saying that India will grow significantly. He also emphasized Russia's deep ties with India, mentioning that they don't just sell weapons to India, but also design them together, like the BrahMos missile. These statements are important because today, many countries want to become major defense partners with India. For example, Germany recently stated in an official document that it wants to free India from Russian influence, and France wants to deepen its defense ties with India. So at a time like this, Putin's statements seem natural, but he also made another very interesting remark. He said that Donald Trump is a very brave man, conducting himself with the qualities of a real man during his campaign, and Putin appeared genuinely pleased with Trump now being the U.S. president. Naturally, you may wonder why Putin wasn't this happy when Joe Biden was in power. But now with Trump back, Putin seems pleased. Even in the U.S., many comedians and late-night show hosts like Jimmy Kimmel recently commented that the vote-counting night must have been a great one for Vladimir Putin when it looked likely that Trump would be declared the U.S. president. Now, you need to understand that in the U.S., the Democratic Party believes, although without solid evidence, that there's a theory that Donald Trump years ago visited Russia where he allegedly had some interactions with certain people and some events were recorded. And Vladimir Putin has everything recorded, so if he ever wants to ruin Trump's image, he could release all those footages. Trump has often said that this is all nonsense and that nothing like this ever happened. This obviously raises the question, why does Trump always seem soft towards Putin? And why does Putin always speak highly of Trump? Well, you need to understand that Trump's geopolitical perspective suggests that having poor relations with Russia doesn't make sense. Now, you probably heard Trump say several times in the U.S. that Biden's biggest mistake is pushing Russia and China together. Under Donald Trump, his main goal would be to separate Russia and China. How would he do this? Obviously, by removing all sanctions on Russia. The more sanctions you place on Russia, the more it depends on China. Now, you can understand why Trump is geopolitically beneficial for India, as his return to power would immediately lessen the strong bond between Russia and China, and Russia would be able to adopt a more independent foreign policy. Obviously, Putin is very pleased with this, which is why he consistently praises Trump. Look at how Putin is now saying that Trump is a brave man, that he stood firm even when bullets were fired, and that he saw everything. A foundation is being laid here for a potential Putin-Trump summit. You might recall that Trump, during his campaign, repeatedly told American voters at his rallies that he would bring Putin and Zelensky together as soon as he becomes president, maybe even on his very first day, and directly tell them to end the war. If this happens, Putin would gladly agree because a large portion of Ukrainian land is now under Russian control. Russia would say, fine, the war is over, lift the sanctions, referring to the 22,000 sanctions that have only affected Russia's economy for about a year or two. The Russian economy would bounce back, Russian territory would have significantly expanded, and obviously Trump would assure Putin that Ukraine would not become a NATO member. It would be a glorious victory for Putin. And by praising Trump, Putin is, in fact, preparing for this grand summit. This summit may not happen immediately and might take some time, but it is going to happen. And Putin didn't stop there. He also recently said that he often asks his colleagues, "What is Europe lacking today?" They reply, "Brains. Europe lacks intelligence." Putin made this statement recently. Now there's a reason behind this. Putin is mocking Europe today because, geopolitically, Europe has become the biggest loser in all this. Recently, I saw a video released by Emmanuel Macron, the president of France, titled, "Trump has been elected by Americans to defend the interests of Americans." Macron asked not just the people of France, but all Europeans, Germans, Belgians, Spaniards, everyone across Europe. Are we ready to defend the interests of Europe? It's clear that Europe has realized that the U.S. will not be as actively involved in its defense as it once was. In many cases, Donald Trump might even side with Vladimir Putin, which is why Putin is so happy now. He will make public appearances, praise India, call Europe brainless, and praise Trump. The next 4 years, if Trump stays in power, are going to be very favorable for Vladimir Putin. That's all for this video. See you in the next one. Thank you.